It's 65 days, but I treat every day like it's my last. I'm only concerned with building on the future, cause I can't change my past. Positive vibes for positive lives. She just giving you that truth and shifting your mind. It's more mental than you realize. It's up to you to take control, cause this world is cold and negativity gon' take its toll. Now we've been told any day could be your last. I'm embracing every moment and I cherish every laugh, every smile, every hug, every kiss, every touch, every person in my life that I care about and love. But wait, maybe I'm getting too emotional. That's exactly what they say you ain't supposed to do. Suppress your feelings, never talk about your pain. Can't appreciate the sun without acknowledging it rains, right? That's right. So this a moment of clarity, and make sure you always protect your energy. You stay focused and your life gon' be lit. And you are now rocking with Celeste the Therapist. Let's go.
Hi, beautiful people. If you've never been into my live podcast before, my name is Celeste. I'm a therapist from Boston, and I get to talk to some amazing people that are doing things to empower the lives of others by sharing their story. But once a month, I get to answer your questions about relationships, and I get to do that with a really cool co-host that I'm going to add to the stream. Hi, co-host. How are you?
Celeste, lovely to see you.
It's always
lovely
nice
to see you indeed.
Yeah, it's always nice seeing you. Hi, Miss P Love. So we are streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Periscope. Can you tell people your name? Because I always like to treat every episode with you like it's the first, because I'm always getting new listeners.
That's what women always say. Every time with me is like the first time. My name's Jeff. I'm an executive coach. My company called Rogers Leads, coaching people and organizations on how to get through tough problems, basically help lead people through change. Sometimes you got to strip yourself to the studs and rebuild. And that's what I'm all about. So today we're going to talk about relationship problems and see if we can help people get some of that mildew from out of their life and, basically renovate that whole thing.
You said something interesting about stripping to the studs. I think sometimes when there's something built, it's like the idea of starting over to the studs can feel really hard.
Right. Well, there's a phrase I've heard sometimes people say. They say, yes, I'm neck deep in my own shit, but it's warm and it's mine.
Yeah, I know.
And so people sometimes don't dig out. They don't want to renovate. But guess what? They say, it's going to take me 8 months to get better. Well, 8 months is going to pass either way. And the only question is where you're going to be at the end.
I know. That's not talked about enough, I think. I think it's like, oh my gosh, I got to start over. But it's like the foundation that can be built if you just kind of like redo it, I think.
Imagine your life, what it could be, then look at what it is, and let that distance be something that motivates you to get better. I'm excited.
Yeah. All right. So let's get started. So for people listening to this, people write in, they ask questions, and sometimes people will actually write in during the middle of the show. But I'm going to add this question so that people can see the question.
Mm-hmm. These are anonymous, and whilst they go to Celeste's website, so I actually haven't seen them.
Yeah, he hasn't. Okay, so this whole thing is not going to fit in the banner. So I'm just going to put it in the comments and then share it. Okay, so the question says, dang, hold on, sorry, I just want to make sure the whole thing's not going to come. So I'm going to read the question and you just follow along. Oh, wait, there it goes. I have been with my spouse since I was 19. I am 36 and he is 43. People have told me that he manipulates me, and over the last 6 months, I am realizing it is true. I listened to your podcast and a few other therapy podcasts that have helped me understand so much of what I have allowed over the years. I am not ready to leave, maybe fear and question mark, but I know it is not getting any better. What can I do to build up enough courage? I have wasted so much time and I do not want to waste any more time.
I like a question with context. Sometimes people just write in and be like, I'm sad, what to do? So I appreciate this. This, I'm going to say it's a woman writing in to say this. Celeste, I noticed something. I don't know if you noticed this in this question, right? So it says I'm 19. I'm 30, I was 19. Now I'm 36. People tell me my man's been manipulating me, and over the last 6 months, I realized that it's true. So you've been with somebody 17 years, and the last 6 months, you've decided that you're being manipulated.
You did math really quick.
Yeah.
I was still doing it. Thank you.
And then the question, then it goes to, I'm not ready to leave, but how do I build up the courage? Celeste, do you feel like there are any steps that are skipped there? We've been together 17 years. 6 months ago, I started noticing that I feel as though I'm being manipulated.
Yeah.
How do I build up the courage to leave my partner of my entire adult life?
When you say steps, what do you mean when you say steps missing?
Well, I didn't notice, for example, I brought this up to my husband. I didn't notice, for example, we talked about it. I didn't notice, for example, I tried to set some boundaries, and from now on, I require the truth. It seems to jump right from, for 16 and a half years, I thought things were fine. Over the last 6 months, I'm realizing it's true. I listened to some podcasts. I'm not ready to leave. How do I get the courage to leave? Well, damn, that's pretty, that's a long time. You're about to get a pension. If instead of being with him, you were working for the T, you'd be about to get a pension right now. So I'm not saying you should or shouldn't leave him. Maybe this dude's the worst monster of all time. Maybe. But seems a little abrupt. Don't you think, Celeste, or no?
No, I agree. It seems a little abrupt. And obviously, Jeff and I only have the context in which people write in. But I'm assuming if there was conversation, that probably would have been part of it. But, let's just go with what we have. And let's just say you haven't talked to your spouse yet about this. Like, what would you suggest, I guess?
Well, I would probably want specific examples, but if she's noticing that this is a pattern, then she probably has those examples, and say, you know what, Derek, I want to talk. When you did this and you did that, later on, I noticed that you didn't really blah blah blah. Thus, I felt manipulated. I feel like you weren't being honest with me. Was that honest? Maybe he owns up, maybe he doesn't. He said, well, listen, I'm not a 19-year-old anymore. I'm 36 years old, and I require honesty in all relationships, even my longest standing one. So is that something that we can do? Can you be honest with me from now on? Because I'm going to be really bothered if I feel manipulated in the future. I'm going to bring it up right away, but also there might not be endless chances for this. Because since she's already ready to leave, she shouldn't pretend as if she's going to put up with this forever.
Yeah. And part of the reason why she may be already to leave is because she's realized this 6 months ago or over the years, but has kept it in her head. And so sometimes I think when there's an issue in our relationship, when we don't talk to our spouse about it, I think what happens is our mind starts to see things based off of what we're believing in our head. Not saying that it's true or not true, but I think it doesn't give the partner enough time to correct or to address what you may be feeling is happening. What's your thoughts about that?
Yeah, it starts to cook. Do people know the story of the telltale heart, right? The guy, in this case, murders. It's a short story. He murders somebody and he hides them under the floorboards. But then the police are looking for the person. They don't really think he murdered him, but they're just there like, hey, we're looking for John. Have you seen him? And he starts to hear John's heartbeat beneath the floor. Brum-bum, brum-bum. And it gets louder. Brum-bum. And he's sure the police hear it. And finally he confesses. Oh, he dives down and stabs the dead body. Stop it! Because it's so much on his mind, he projects that everyone can hear it. Of course, the heart was not beating. It was just the manifestation of guilt. So in this case, it's the manifestation of resentment. So now, as long as you don't talk about it, the resentment just builds and builds and builds. And then maybe somebody is manipulating you, or maybe they say a straightforward thing and you go, you probably lying like you lie about everything else, because you start feeling manipulated all the time. So this is a great example of where you got to communicate what you'd like to see. You can try to bring up the past. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, like, when you say, because what's going to happen, you're going to say, I feel manipulated. He's going to go, what? Both an honest person and a manipulator would go, what do you mean? Then you go, well, you did X, you did Y, you did Z. You might have a little fight, but in the end you go, look, I actually don't want anything about those. Those are water under the bridge. They happened. I don't want to feel manipulated anymore. I want honesty. And in the future, we won't debate about it. It'll just be a bigger issue than that. So choose your life. I'll choose mine.
I'm so glad you're here, because when I first read the question, honestly, I was thinking about what can I tell her to help her build up her strength, but not giving the other side a chance. And I think also at 19, so do the math, how old was he, like 20 what?
If she's 19, he was 25.
So he was 25. Maybe part of it, she looked to him as this older figure to like help guide her. And he just kept that role going. So, I think that's something else to consider, where I'm not saying that it's not manipulative or not controlling, but maybe somehow the roles kind of stayed that way and no one readjusted as you mature together.
Right. It's not uncommon that, well, first of all, men on average in relationships, men are about 3 years older than women in relationships. So this is twice the average age distance. So it is a difference. And of course, 19 and 25, 19 is really like an upper child. I don't mean it's legally.
Right.
A 19-year-old person's like young. A 25-year-old, 26-year-old is like an adult. Right. Mm-hmm. And so you could see them having that dynamic. We don't know for sure, but you could see that happening. And then, but my issue is that this is sort of like firing somebody before writing them up. You got to give them a verbal warning, a written warning, then you fire them. Because ideally, she didn't say, I stopped loving him, he gained 300 pounds, he's a drug addict. She's unhappy with this thing. Let's assume that she would be happy to stay with him going forward, if only this or that would change. Mm-hmm. If that's true, then you could imagine then that she should maybe make some gesture towards coming to an understanding before leaving. I'm going to go ahead and make a bet. She's never lived as an adult with anyone but him and her mother.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe you want to explore rectifying a person. Now, maybe he goes, your friends are liars and I don't want you to see them no more. Or manipulate you. How dare you? Just for that, you owe me sex and then I'm going to go out for a week. And I'd say, oh, look, more manipulation right away. But he could be like, damn, I guess I got to tighten up. He could. So that I would push for that first.
Yes. All right, listener, caller. I think that you have a little homework to do with just, having a conversation at least. I think that's old for not just him, but also for yourself to, like Jeff is saying, to kind of see if it can work.
If you're brave enough to leave someone you've been with 17 years, you should be brave enough to talk to them first. That takes bravery.
That's true. I'll give you that. That's true. All right, let's go to our next question. These are all long. Usually I can get them in the box. All right. All right. So my man and I share a business, but don't work well together. I'm afraid it will be the downfall of our relationship, and I'm gonna be the one with the financial loss. I've suggested that he buy me out, but he said he wasn't interested in that and wants to keep working with me. He is a bit needy, and we are together all day, every day. What's the best way to say? And this person is quoting, pick one, relationship or business.
I like it. Very fun. Right. So they're home during the pandemic. She makes her famous barbecue sauce. He says, damn, this barbecue sauce is good. Baby, we should sell this. And they go in on it. She takes her savings, and he says, and I'll be like the manager. And now it's not going good. But she'll take the financial loss because she put in the money or has the investment. Yeah. Here's what I'll say to this. It's not really pick one, relationship or business. And I'll tell you why it's not. Let's say he picks business. So y'all going to break up and still work together? Right? That can't really happen because you're going to romantically break up, but just you don't work together well, whether or not you're in a relationship. So in actuality, the only thing is break break up with the business is over either way. The business partnership is over either way because you want out of that partnership. So the only question is, can you still have a relationship afterwards? Make sense? There's really not. You just couldn't pick. I don't see how you're going to be like, listen, man, because you won't leave the business, I'm breaking up with you. I'll see you tomorrow when we go over the invoices. That's not going to happen. So you just got to lay out what it really is, which is this is going towards breaking us up. Okay? This is going towards breaking us up. I know you don't want to, but what I'm telling you is that either we keep a romantic relationship and sever our business relationship, or we sever both. But I'm not staying in business with you. And frankly, a business person, an entrepreneur knows the sad truth. You got to be ready to take a financial loss sometimes. Meaning, I don't want you to, but if you choose, if this really becomes a nightmare, this is kind of why they say, I'm not blaming you. I know what you tried to do. This is kind of why they say don't mix business and pleasure. You know what I mean? I'm not blaming you. I know it. You thought like, oh, we'll have each other's back. And it'll be like those TV shows where the man and the woman flip the houses. I get it. But if it all blows up, basically, personally, I would rather the freedom than be beholden forever to somebody that I'm entangled business-wise with. In other words, if me and Celeste buy this, we didn't, but if me and Celeste both put money into this podcast, and then I start to realize that like we're not working out, I might walk away rather than let Celeste torture me for the next 18 months.
Yeah, it seems like this person is struggling, but because it says I've suggested that he buy me out, so they must be doing well with whatever business that they're doing. Right? If that
maybe, or let me say, I could imagine also, let's just put a number. She, I could imagine that they put in money and she just goes, well, really? Wait, let me see. Let me look again because maybe I got it backwards. I suggest that he buy me out. You make a point, Celeste. So it could be the other way. It's not doing great and they don't work together well. So she goes, you keep this business going. You give me some money and I'll walk away. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah,
because
I see what you're saying.
That's a little bit of a hot potato, right? Nobody wants to, because right now she's on the hook. Meaning, let's just say she put 20 G's in. So she put 20 G's in. She goes, let's sever this. I don't want to work with you anymore. She goes, just give me 20 G's and I'll walk away. And he's like, I'm not giving you 20 G's. And I like working with you. You see what I'm saying? Okay. So we don't know all the financials, but if it's going well, that would actually make it easier. But still, like basically, it always boils down to the same thing, which is you have your power, but you don't have, like you have your options. You could leave the business. You could leave the business and him. Those are the options.
And that's because you're taking that solution focused mindset around like you're the only person that can make the change. And I'm like looking at all day, every day. It wasn't just all day, but it's like every day, like you're just really like tired. And I feel like peace of mind kind of trumps. I mean, if I can survive, if I can like pay my bills, right? I'm just obviously Maslow's hierarchy and needs are being met. I want obviously think about that first, but I think peace of mind, it doesn't sound like this guy's a bad guy. It's just that so much has been mixed together that it's becoming more complicated for you than you initially signed up for.
All right. Celeste, I'm going to give you a weird example. All right. You, for reasons that you can't explain, okay, you walk in and you see, I won't make it your real, we'll make it an imaginary boyfriend of the past, okay? You walk in and he's eating cat dookie with a fork, okay? That's what happens. Hey, you walk in, you see it. You don't know why, but you catch him dead to rights. You're disgusted that day, right? The next day, he goes, listen, I took a shower, brushed my teeth. Come here, baby. Give me a kiss. You going to do it?
If I'm in love, probably, yeah.
He ate cat dookie and you flinch a little bit. Will it be a little weird? Will it be different than the day before?
Would it be different than the day before? Oh, you mean my mindset about him? Yes.
Right. There's some things you can't unknow. And so I'll be super honest. They didn't ask this. I wonder if even if they were able to dissolve the business, how their relationship will go, because she didn't say one positive thing about him in this paragraph. The only thing he's described as is we don't work well together. He's needy. He won't buy me out. Right? It sounds they might be sick, or she might be sick of him even if he leaves the business. I could imagine that. Yeah. But I would give it a try to see if you say, well, listen, man, do you value our relationship? Here's what I might say if I'm her. I'll try to give her best pitch. Baby, I love you. You know that, right? And I believe in you. You know that, right? Do you value our relationship? Okay. Is there anything that's more important in our relationship? Do you value money more than our relationship? No? Okay. Neither do I. And so I want to not be business partners anymore. We'll work it out however we work it out, a buyout, a walk away. I don't know. But in order for us to be romantic going forward, we cannot be business partners going forward. It doesn't work for me. That's the best pitch I can imagine. Now, after 6 months, he buys her out. Let's say her dream comes true. He buys her out. Here's $20,000, baby. That's how much I love you. In 6 months, are they going to have the flame that they had that made them work together? I don't know, man. I would be skeptical, but I'm not saying it can't happen, but I do know what she means. Certainly working together is not helping. So you got to break that up.
So you want her to just kind of be honest with herself too about the relationship piece, because, just from the paragraph, that's all we have, but it seems like she might be kind of tired of it, but we don't know, but just kind of asking her to be honest with herself.
Usually if someone writes a paragraph, they'll say, listen, he's a great guy. They'll preface it, right? Listen, he's a great guy. He does everything I want, but there's one problem. Right. Instead, she just said, this dude's needy. I hate work with him. He won't buy me out. I'm with him all day, every day. How do I say the relationship or the business? Do you see them? That's actually, there's not a single, but I need my man. There's not anything in there that says that. So, but that's me reading into it. It's what I do, but I could be wrong. But basically make that pitch, woman whose cupcake business is now hopefully going strong. Make that pitch and just tell them, listen, I value our relationship so much. I don't want to let business break it up. So let's figure out a way to dissolve this business proposition. I'm not asking you. I'm telling you that I would like to do that. Okay.
I like that. That's good. I was kind of stumped. I'm like, oh, that has to be a hard predicament to be in, because when they started, I didn't think about it. You're right. It was probably during the middle of a pandemic where they were kind of stuck together.
It's in the pandemic. He gets laid off. They say, well, now's the perfect time to teach roller skating on Zoom. It's the perfect time to teach roller skating on Zoom. Everyone's on Zoom. Yeah. It seems so obvious, but liking somebody in one, you know how you have like a work best friend?
Yes.
If you leave that job, they stop being your best friend in 3 months.
So true, yeah.
Or you have a school best friend, and then next year, when you're a freshman, then when you're a sophomore, they're not in your class, and you just don't even see them anymore.
Right.
Or how about you have a relationship because you like to eat the same things, watch the same TV shows, and have sex, and then you got to work together, and you realize I hate everything about how this person functions. It's all the same thing.
All right, thank you. I hope that's helpful. All right, let's get to this one. So this one is a little bit so any tips on starting a relationship with my adult son? He's 25 and I've lost time with him. I blame myself. His mom and I had him at 14. Her parents took over and I cannot complain at the care he received over the years. What is the best way to work on having a relationship with him? I never had a relationship with my father, and he is my only seed. He has not said we cannot have a relationship, but I feel out of place when we do connect.
Well, letter writer, I got to say, I love that you care about this. Right? I love that you care about this, because there are many men that just say, look, man, the time for that's past. I don't know if people know Karl Malone, the NBA player. Karl Malone did a bunch of wild stuff that makes me not like Karl Malone. But one thing he did was when he was already in the NBA, this seems crazy now, but he's from rural Louisiana and it was the 80s. He had a kid with a 13-year-old girl. Nowadays, of course, that would get him all types of crazy stuff. But back then, all he did was fight the child support and pay very little. In any event, he had like 3 children, and all 3 of them became like professional athletes. Karl Malone has the genes of a superhuman. One of his sons became a Dallas Cowboys football player, and he tried to reach out to Karl Malone. Karl Malone said, "Hey, man, the time for that's past." Damn, dog! I don't even want money. I'm a linebacker in the NFL. I'm just trying to connect.
Oh,
He said, "I don't need it." So, sir, I admire you for trying to get that done. That being said, he's 25, so that means that every year that you didn't do it is one more year that you didn't do it, right? And you were 14. I'm being real, and this is the way Junior could very well be looking at it. You were 14 when you had me. That's pretty young, but that means when I was 10, you were 24, and at that point, you were a grown man. And was you taking me to a lot of baseball games then? Because a 24-year-old can do that. Certainly a 14-year-old might struggle. How about when I turned 16 and I needed someone to help me tie my tie for junior prom, right? And you were 31. How about that? So I could imagine a lot of children in that situation. That's how they feel. Basically a version of back then you didn't want me, now I'm hot, they all on me. Right? Mm-hmm. Or we all know the Will Smith Fresh Prince crying episode, right? Where he cries.
Yeah.
Right? Basically, it's tough. You got to put in the reps. And so I think the best chance is to come to him and be real. And say, hey, man, like basically what you typed out and say, look, I had you young. I was kind of lost. That being said, you deserve a father. And so it's me that failed. You say the phrase, I blame myself. I might really say that and say, look, sometimes it's awkward between you and me, and I only blame one person, which is myself.
Mm-hmm.
But can't go back in time. So all I can do, son, is try to build with you now. I don't expect you to call me daddy and sit on my lap. I missed that chance. But could we sometimes talk as a man who respects you? Could we do that? Could I know about your life a little bit? Like, I take you out to lunch sometimes. Maybe if you have a girlfriend, something you could like, basically like you could let me in a little bit, but you don't have to. And it's basically up to him. The boundary is totally up to him.
I like that a lot. Yeah, it makes sense. And I think the piece about like feeling out of place, it's like, well, why? Of course you're going to feel out of place because you're getting to know your adult son. So maybe even like joining some kind of like support group with other men who may be trying to connect with their son, just so you won't feel alone. I wouldn't want you to give up, because you're not saying that your child doesn't want a relationship with you. But I think this is what happens sometimes, with parents. I mean, we're talking about something that you're able to see, but I think when parents are trying to reconcile with their kids, sometimes they feel so out of place, they give up, but then they're left with this thing inside of them wondering like what would have happened if I tried, but not knowing how to try. So I just think there's like a lot of power in community. With everything being online, there's so many different avenues for support online where you can be anonymous if that's a struggle for you. But just try to like take out the barriers. But I love Jeff's approach about the authenticity of just kind of being real with your son.
Yeah. And you say, look, whatever type of son, whatever type of relationship that you want to have, like whatever, I want you to know what I want, son. I want a deep and meaningful relationship with you. But I recognize that you don't owe me that. It's just what I want. I'm not pressuring you. So like if I can, I would love to set it up so that, once a month I can take you to lunch, but we don't have to. We could just do one lunch at a time, or you could decline lunches altogether. But I want you to know that I know that fact that we don't have a deep relationship right now is my failure. I don't blame you, but all I can try to do is make it up now. I can't go back in time.
Yeah, and you're breaking the cycle. I just missed the whole part about I never had a relationship with my father. So like kudos to you for trying to break the cycle. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes it's kind of hard for men who, especially if you didn't have that like in your life. I'm not making any excuses for men that are not a part of their kid's life, but I know it's hard to break those kind of cycles. So the fact that you're even writing in is like amazing to me.
And let me, well, I think that's true. There's a reason why I didn't mention it. And that's because from your perspective, whether it's an excuse or whether it's just a reason, when the person receiving an apology hears a rationale, it dissolves the apology. So you go, listen, Celeste, I'm so sorry I took that. I stole from you. Even though you did take something from me. No, the minute you say that, now it's not an apology anymore. Yeah. So you just got to say, I apologize. You say what so I'll go through the steps. I apologize, Celeste, I'm so sorry. You say what you did wrong. Celeste, I'm so sorry that I stole from your house. You say what you're gonna do to rectify it. Or you say how you know it affected Celeste. Celeste, I'm so sorry that I stole from your house. I know that that made you feel unsafe and like that your house wasn't safe anymore. What you're gonna do in the future. Celeste, from now on, not only will I never touch your stuff, but I'm doing community service at a homeless shelter to help give back. Instead of taking, now I give. That's how you give an apology. You don't say, Celeste, I stole from you, but I'm an alcoholic, so really that was the alcohol doing that. No, wrong. Because that doesn't work. You have to take it on the chin, champ. And keep in mind, if you'd have been there that whole time, being a dad is a lot about taking it on the goddamn chin. So this is one of the most fatherly things you could do is take it on the chin and just say, I wasn't there, and that's that. Later, as he says, but Dad, when you knew I was there, why didn't you do it? And you say, I was 14, blah, blah, blah. When he asks, but not to start off to say, I was wrong, but not as wrong as you think. No, no, you are as wrong as he thinks, because that's the only way you're going to have a relationship.
Kind of like the baby's apology of he needs to be educated.
Right. He said, no, damn, why can't people learn out loud or whatever? This is not about you a break, sir. This is about you saying all types of crazy stuff about gay people and AIDS.
Right.
And when you get called and you go, man, when did this place? Oh my God. That's not how you apologize. And that's why people don't accept it as an apology.
Yeah.
Weasel words. And I regret my previous actions. If anything I said offended you, no, not if. Right. And so in this way, you're taking it right on the chin. I wasn't there for you. A son needs and deserves a father. That was my job to do, and I didn't do it. And for that, I'm sorry. I can't go back in time. I can only start now. Here's what I want. Whatever you're willing to give is what I'm willing to accept, even if it's nothing, because you have that right. But I want you to know I do care, and I do want to build with you.
And that, my friend, is a good apology. Sorry is not going to cut it. People want to be.
Yeah, but my bad. Oh, you're 25? My bad. 25 birthday parties? My bad.
All right. This one's a little juicy. I saved it for last. Okay, let me read it. Let me put it up on the screen. All right. So I'm having an affair with a married man, and
This is what I hope this show would be, Celeste.
Just for people. So it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. Oh, obviously you guys know that because we just talked about a son and father. I'm having an affair with a married man, and I'm trying to get out of it. Every time I pull away and say that this is it, he finds a way to come back into my life by telling me he's not happy in his marriage, and I am the one for him. I am 29 with no kids and a great career. I thought I would be married by now. When we initially connected, it was about business, and one thing led to another, and we have been sleeping with each other for the last 13 months. I told myself I told myself.
I could see I would never be anyone's, and I assume it's going to say mistress or
side piece, and now I am feeling emotionally trapped. How can I break the cycle? I want a marriage and I want kids.
Yep. I feel so. We look at this. I'm having an affair with a married man. I'm trying to get out of it. So you think, oh, what happened? Does he have? He has her chained up in the basement. What could it be? Every time I try to get out, he pulls me back in. Oh, by threatening to send her nudes to her grandparents? No. He pulls me back in by telling me he's unhappy.
He's not happy, yeah.
Whose problem is it that he's unhappy? Whose problem is that? He could leave his wife if that's what you want. Of course, you'll be getting what you get, but the fact is he could leave his wife, right? Then you go on to tell us that you're a catch. I'm a 29 with no kids and a great career. I take that to mean I'm a catch. Yeah, sounds like a catch to me, baby. I thought I'd be married by now, right? So you thought your life would be even better. When we connected, it was about business, and one thing led to another, and we've been sleeping with each other for 13 months. So you're saying it's not like you went looking for a married man. Rather, one thing happened to another, yada, yada, yada. I've been banging a married man for 13 months. And you told yourself you would never be anyone's side piece. Well, what's interesting is all the stuff that a person tells themselves, right? There's your express value and your live value. I don't know if people have, does anyone ever buy a book off Amazon, right? Celeste, you buy a book off Amazon, but then the book stays on your bookshelf or whatever on your dining table, and then you watch reruns of old sitcoms, right? Because you tell yourself you're going to read the book, but when it comes time to have an opportunity to read the book, you watch TV. That's because we have our express preferences, the things we say out loud, and we have our lived preferences, the things that we actually do, right? Or we all know you buy a bunch of vegetables from Whole Foods, and then you put it in your fridge until they wilt, then you throw them away because tonight pizza and tomorrow hot dogs and candy. Express preferences and lived preferences. So, ma'am, what I'm seeing is that you listed in one paragraph, or a couple of paragraphs, you were able to list a bunch of express preferences that weren't your lived preferences. So the challenge is to have the courage of your convictions, right? And the way we do that is we're intentional. We decide what we're going to do instead of we do what we feel. So, for example, I decide I'm not going to sleep with this man anymore. I don't know how to stop liking him or loving him. I don't know how to stop enjoying sex with him. I don't know how to do that. If the sex is good, if I like him and I'm charmed by him, how can I not? It doesn't matter. I've decided not to do it. Right? And then he calls you up and says, but you're the only one that understands me. Really? My wife, yes, she's my wife, but she doesn't get me like you do. Only you can help me. Sometimes I feel so alone. And then when I talk to you, it's like sunshine on a cloudy day. Yak, 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 yak. I believe all that can be true, sir. It can all be true. However, I've decided to end this because I have goals. I wanted marriage and a family. I want marriage and kids. Doing this doesn't meet my goals. So I've decided intentionally not to do it, even though I'm not going to lie. I like sleeping with you and I like eating wings with you in bed and watching TV. I like it, but I won't do it.
Well, one of the things this person says is emotionally trapped. Like, why do people, like, she's 29, she has a great career, no kids, which is, a 29-year-old female with no kids is pretty high value, I guess.
Sure.
What changes in her that causes her to forget her value and forget her goals and then just allow her emotions to be the thing that she's drawn upon? Because it's clearly a very emotional affair along with physical, you know what I mean?
No, right. Well, here's the thing. Your emotions are not, they're not rational, right? And so if you make emotional decisions, you will find yourself doing irrational things. For example, I told myself I wouldn't be a side piece, but it's what I am. I told myself I wouldn't, I told myself I would be married, but I'm not. Not that you can control that, but you're carrying on with somebody who I gather that you don't expect to ever marry this guy. Rather, your emotions are just drawn to him. And we're saying emotions, it could be a combination of love and lust. Perhaps, there's complicated things. Perhaps you respond to somebody who's not available because you're afraid of commitment. I'm not saying there's nothing in this to indicate that. I'm just saying that's one reason why an eligible person might find themselves drawn to someone who's unavailable, right? Because presumably you could get a guy that looks as handsome as this guy, and he's not married. Presumably you could. You know what I mean? So why not? Well, then that guy, we might have to move forward. But with this guy, we kind of stay at the same level forever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm just saying all you have to do is decide rationally. It's simple, but it's not easy, right? Where you break it off, just like in Waiting to Exhale, Leon keeps calling Layla Rashawn, right? And like she wants to see Leon because she likes him and she thinks he's sexy and whatever it is, so she just does it. And at some point, you just got to decide Leon ain't gonna stop being sexy to you. If that's what you like, that's what you like. You just have to decide, I'm not doing this. And you know it's going to be hard and you do it anyway. If you're 29 with a great career almost certainly came from doing things you didn't want to do to get to a further goal. Almost certainly it did, right? Where you say, well, other people are going to the club tonight, but I have to finish the Johnson report. So you just finish the Johnson report, even though you prefer the club. But in that instance, you're able to make a rational choice. You're able to use executive functioning, use your neocortex, and choose long-term gratification or the short-term gratification. Yeah. You don't got no kids, so you must be using protection with this guy or taking your birth control every day or whatever it is. So you do know how to do things. You just have to take that same way that you handle that and bring it to this one other thing, which is I do like this guy, just like I like eating cake instead of eating salad, just like I like going out and drinking instead of going to bed early so I can be good for work. Choose the thing that is rational and don't be ruled by your emotions.
Yeah, and what Jeff did for you just there is showed you your capabilities. Because I think sometimes people are like, I can't do it, it's too hard, but you've done this before, right? Like you got to where you got to by being very intentional. And so I think that if you say you want to be married, if you say you don't want to keep doing this anymore, start being a little bit more intentional where, when you, and this tends to happen, right? I hear like, I pull away a little bit, then they continue to call or they call more, or they give me what I want. I wanted more dates and I got another date because they can feel me pulling away. Why would they want to let you go if they're getting something out of the deal? So I just think that you have to kind of want more for you than you want for that person. And I know a lot of times people, I don't want to say genders, but can be emotionally manipulative by where you play their emotions. They allow their emotions to be the thing that draws you because you're like, oh, but they're so sad. I think you said that he's not happy.
He's not happy with his wife. He brings me back, but I was so ready for it to be like, he brings me back because he's my boss and he says he'll fire me if I don't do it. But I'm held hostage by the fact that he'll be sad if I leave.
He'll be sad, yeah. What about you? I just want you to really think about you. And I know a lot of times with women, we sometimes have a big heart, and you can't allow your emotions and your heart to run the show when you want more out of life.
I think that's very true. The one thing I'll say is sometimes when people frame it like that, meaning they say like, well, the thing is I'm a giver. When you frame it in that positive way, it almost like makes you feel good about your pathos. So I'm going to frame it a different way and say that you're not showing emotional discipline, and that's why you are currently a side piece, the thing you said you would never be.
I like that. Right.
The minute you stop, you'll stop.
Yeah, you're right. I can't argue with that. And so like, just know your power. We all have power. I think that's the one thing that happens in our segment together is that we kind of help people see their power that they have in situations. So just because feelings change, right? It feels like you don't have power. It feels like you're trapped, but you're never trapped. There's always a choice. And you are the common denominator in a situation. So really looking at what you can do.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Bottom line, you decide. There's people do it different ways. One other thing, you met this guy at work. You talk about that your career is great. One thing you could do if you were to decide, since kill two birds with one stone, since you're looking to be married and you want a long-term relationship, if you were to start actively dating, meaning going on dates, even with people that you don't. Sometimes you go, well, why would I go on a date with him? I don't like him as much as I love Trevor, my married my married guy. Right, because you've been sleeping with Trevor for 13 months, so this new guy can't compete. But you just take a guy, go on a date with him, and either you like him or at least you remind yourself, people like me. People pursue me, right? But if you stay home, if it's between Trevor and being all alone, you might pick Trevor. So you get out there a little bit and try to find that husband. One of the rare people who we know doesn't appear to be a good candidate for the kind of marriage you probably want is Trevor.
That's good. That's another good point too for people that are in these kind of like affairs. You don't allow yourself a chance to meet new people if you are like, you know, you may go on a date or you may say like, I'm not waiting, but if you continue to spend so much time with this person, then you're not going to have room for anyone else. So just kind of be mindful of that.
And I want to keep in mind, letter writer, I'm not, if this came off anything like that, I'm not morally judging you at all. And if you'd have wrote in and said, I'm banging a married guy and I love it, and I don't know why people complain about it, then I'd be like, well, that, if it don't bother you, then I guess it's going all right. But it does bother you. So based on your own moral framework, not Jeff's moralistic or Celeste's moralistic framing of your predicament, my only chance, I'm solution focused. My issue with your current situation is, you're like, I want to get to the North Pole, and yet you're just driving south. So I say, well, the first thing you should do is bang a U-turn. And you're like, but I like going in this direction. Okay, but you ain't going to the North Pole. You got to pick.
Yeah. How can we wrap up these are like really different questions. What do you think they have in common, or what's your mindset to kind of close us out?
I think one thing that all these have in common is that I think oftentimes the letter writer knows what they have to do, but the courage to do it is different, right? Maybe only the father is the only one that I think he might actually said, I don't know what to do. But everyone else basically was on the path of like, how do I get out of this business relationship when I told the guy I don't want to be in a business relationship? You leave the business relationship. Like, there's, again, a lot of things are simple, but they're not easy, right? And then a lot of people say, Doc, I'll do anything to lose weight except diet and exercise. Well, okay, then you're going to be fat, because those are the ways. You want to leave the business relationship, you got to tell the person, we ain't doing this no more. You want to stop sleeping with the guy? I mean, does he break in, or do you buzz him in and then lay down? Well, we know what not to do. You just got to do it.
So it's not a matter of like not trusting ourselves. It's more so of having to do the hard thing. Is that what you think that's more about?
I think it's oftentimes about having to do the hard thing, or or basically, how do I feel differently so the hard thing is easy?
That's a good one.
Yeah, you can't. You're going to go from this guy who you've been having, I'm going to assume, good sex with for 13 months, down to maybe nobody. You probably don't have another good sex partner, or this wouldn't be so hard. So you're going to go down to probably nobody. That's true. So yeah, you're signing up for a little bit of deprivation, right? The business one, you're signing up for a hard talk, and it might have continued problems in your relationship because, he takes over the business and you go, you always wanted me to fail. You never believed in me, or the various things that you can imagine happening. Yeah, I know. But one thing we know is you don't want to stay together and be in this business relationship. So that's you're continuing doing the one thing we know doesn't work.
Yeah.
You're not giving yourself a chance. You got to give yourself a chance by making the move. One last thing I'll leave the people with. People have something called status quo bias. And what that means is that they will basically build inertia. They will stay in the same place because they've been in the same place. That's called status quo bias. Most people, for example, a lot of people hate their job, but they don't leave. Right? Far more people are that way, where they go, do you like this job? No, but I'm going to stay. So what this means is people struggle. But here's the thing. Because you have status quo bias, if you can't tell what to do, always pick the change. Do you get what I'm saying? Because since you have a bias towards status quo, if you still can't tell, that means without that bias, the change is what you prefer. So pick the change. And so if you can't tell whether you should stay with somebody, break up with them. If you can't tell whether you should stay at a job, leave. Make sense?
Makes sense. I hear you.
There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Jeff. Tell the people how they can find you.
If you haven't been, well, I guess people can be listening, but a Chiron at the bottom of this show for the whole time runs that you can contact me at jeff@rogersleads.com. You can contact me, whatever it is, executive coaching, which, does have leadership and life coaching components. You can contact me for basically anything you want. You want to know how to make your own beard balm? Email me. All right. For those who
you have a nice beard going on there. It seems pretty consistent too.
Oh, thank you. It's just fruits and berries. But people should, hit me up, and I'm rooting for everybody, man. Imagine if everyone listening today, your life was better in a month. Wouldn't that be amazing, Celeste?
That would be so amazing.
No one, only thing stopping you is you.
Yes, I agree. Well, thank you, kind sir. I appreciate you.
Thank you, my dear. Can't wait to do it again.
Bye. That's a wrap. That's me and Jeff. So on my website, CelesteTheTherapist.com/podcast, you can find the box for those questions. There's no question that's off limits. One of the things that I love about what Jeff does is that he's very non-judgmental with his approach, and he meets people where they are. So don't ever feel like something is too hard to ask for us, because it's really not. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. So thank you all so much. Go to CelesteTheTherapist.com too. If you've never heard us before and you want to listen to previous episodes, we have a ton of previous episodes where we are dialoguing and answering all of your questions about relationships. Until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.
165 days, but I treat every day like it's my last. I'm only concerned with building on the future, cause I can't change my past. Positive vibes for positive lives. She just giving you that truth and shifting your mind. It's more mental than you realize. It's up to you to take control, cause this world is cold and negativity gon' take its toll. Now we've been told any day could be your last. I'm embracing every moment and I cherish every laugh, every smile, every hug, every kiss, every touch, every person in my life that I care about and love. But wait, maybe I'm getting too emotional. That's exactly what they say you ain't supposed to do. Suppress your feelings, never talk about your pain. Can't appreciate the sun without acknowledging it rains, right? That's right. So this a moment of clarity, and make sure you always protect your energy. You stay focused and your life gon' be lit. And you are now rocking with Celeste the Therapist. Let's go.